Portal moving fast and furious. Let's get to it. Just when you think I was out, they pull me back in. Portal News, moving fast and furious, was going to do a Portal recap, and then the news hits that we lose right tackle Taj White. A little bit of a surprise. There wasn't any chatter about that I can see, although I'm not always glued to message boards and X and the like. But I never like to lose offensive lineman depth, especially in the Big Ten, especially considering our history struggling with the offensive line with quality and depth. And so I never like to lose guys, even though I felt Taj kind of underperformed somewhat, and I'll get to that in a second. There's about 5,000 players in the portal right now. It's probably going to go higher. I don't know who was it said there was going to be 10,000 players. I thought that was kind of crazy, but you never know. So, oh yeah, I don't know if you guys ever had the Claus Sweet Baby Java coffee porter. They also do the Sweet Baby Jesus chocolate peanut butter, but I kind of like the Java. I'm a coffee guy, and I like it with my beer as well. Nonetheless, out of those 5,000 some odd players, hopefully Coach will be able to find us. There should be some cultural fits in there. So did a quick, as I said in my last video, I've watched Boston College over the past couple of years. I felt that they wanted to be a team that played defense. They struggled on offense, were kind of inconsistent. Even with Thomas Castellano, he had to play some playground ball to be able to make a play. They struggled on offense. In addition to, earlier I had done a quick recap, a 30,000 foot view of Dylan, cornerback Samir Dawood, and Toledo defensive end Malachi Davis. And then we also added Maine defensive end Jaden Lee and Ball State tight end Cam Anthony, who the guys at the night report were talking about, and turns out that we land them. They also talked about, and there was chatter about Utah State wide receiver Braden Pigan, which I kind of liked. Those Utah teams, they somehow, now Utah State hasn't been great maybe the past year or two, but they have times where they were winning. We've talked about Utah a bunch. Don't think there's a chance with him. He he's from the West Coast, from California, no action at all, no reps at UCLA. He's likely to go to Wisconsin, where apparently his high school quarterback is transferred from Old Dominion. I think it was Old Dominion. And so it's likely that he is Braden is going to join his high school quarterback and play for Wisconsin. Boy, they can use some thick quarterback play. Hasn't been great in the past couple of years. He did receive interest from 20 other kind of name brand teams. His high school quarterback, Colton Joseph, actually had, Old Dominion is another one of those teams that kind of surprises. Didn't they beat Virginia Tech? Maybe it was this year, last year. Maybe it was twice. I don't know. But Old Dominion. 6'3", 210 pounds, so he would have been the ideal size guy to replace Ian Strong as that tall whiteout threat. But, it's kind of unlikely. And California, Utah, kind of cultural fit, it might be kind of difficult to squeeze that square peg in a round hole. But we like those California kids, right? Jeremy Ito. So, boy, the judge, what is he? Is he? I think he's in insurance industry in Newark or something. Nonetheless, let's go through it. Bombshell announcement, kind of, because it was unexpected to me at least. Maybe the guys on the inside kind of got the vibes. I heard some things. Let's start off with Taj White before we get to Dylan Lonergan. You kind of felt with him that he was going to be the guy, didn't quite get there. He was kind of high, mid to high 3-star guy at a Hudson Catholic in Jersey City, the place of my birth, Christ Hospital, way back in the Wayback Machine. Felt that he underperformed, didn't quite get up to snuff as quickly as, I felt that he should have. Then he stabilized, but then he never reached, to be that above average stalwart on the offensive line. He seemed to give up a fair amount of pressures and sacks. And Alec from the Night Report actually went through some of his PFF grades, which I'm not married to, but I think in this case they might be somewhat accurate, is that his overall grade is 66.9, which is just so-so at best. A decent 72.5 run grade, but a 54 pass block grade, which is terrible. So, and he gave up a team-leading 28 pressures. So the overall sense of how he was doing kind of bears out, and PFF might be accurate in their assessment this time. Certainly hope Ryder Lansdale is back from his injury. Dante Chin can solidify and continue to be that versatile guy, and Mojiwa can kind of step up and grab the reins and become that guy. And apparently we're still looking for guys on the offensive line in the portal, and maybe this was one of the things with Jim Turner coming in. Maybe there was a mutual kind of understanding, parting of the ways. I don't know, but if we're looking for guys, new O-line coach, looking for guys in the portal, maybe he thought with his 1 year of eligibility left, he can chase the bag somewhere. He will probably, offensive linemen they're going to get overpaid in the portal. We talked about that. It's essentially NFL free agency. He might be a fit as a guard somewhere. So we wish him luck. But, again, we lose 4 offensive linemen in the portal. Hate losing depth. We lose Zach Amlin, who never really got an opportunity. John Stone and Carter Cadow. Nonetheless, Taj White should get lots of interest, so we'll see what happens there. Incoming quarterback from BC via Alabama and Nick Saban, Dylan Lonergan. We went over some of his stats before. We won't go through that. But we get a former 4-star quarterback, and as we said, was picked by Nick Saban. Villanova cornerback Zamir Dawood, Toledo defensive end Malachi Davis, and Ball State tight end Cam Miller. So yeah, Villanova, Ball State, and Toledo. But hey, BC, did they even have 2 wins this year? At least BC is a Power 4 team. So that's the incoming. Outgoing, of course, Ian. He's visiting Cal and Notre Dame, and the guys at the Night Report were talking about, I was kind of wondering why there wasn't a ton of interest and, offers galore for a guy like Ian Strong, but apparently there's some chatter that he possibly overplayed his hand, wanting a really big bag at Rutgers, and then when you go to a place like Notre Dame, you're not going to be able to hold them up, even though they can afford to pay. They're going to be like, no, it's Notre Dame. Cal's, usually is, for a U.S. News top 25 university, usually a top 5 public university, maybe top 3. They do pretty well. So there's some chatter that maybe he overplayed his hand and that the market for him isn't as advanced and developed as you would think. We lose Daryl Dangoe, defensive end Jordan Walker, who's now with Georgia Tech. Jacoby Henderson visiting. Did he visit? I think he signed with Virginia, who was 11. Virginia. This is what drives me crazy, guys. Virginia. Yes, it's the ACC. They're still 11-3. And they beat SEC Missouri in a bowl game. So, I mean, can we beat Virginia? What are we talking about here? Bo Mascow visiting Texas, which I find kind of laughable, quite frankly. And I think it's even more hysterical that he's a top 5 cornerback in the portal. Really? According to who? Yeah, I don't know, man. Again, it's free agency. I think you tend to overvalue guys. Hell no. Texas defense, way too... Bo Mascow, if he gets playing time, would be the weak link in that Texas defense. 4-star cornerback Rennick Darius has lots of offers. Where he was visiting somewhere, and I forget because I'm getting old and can't remember stuff. But he is paying a visit somewhere. Cornerback Mike Robinson, and then running backs Sam Brown and C.J. Campbell. All gone, in addition to the offensive lineman that we just mentioned, and wide receiver Dane Partridge. All right, so let's start with Dylan Lonergan. Went back, watched some video, and he's an interesting guy. And Mike from the Night Report hit it on the head. As I watched him more closely, when you're watching a game, you're kind of just getting broader impressions. But when I watched him closely, I watch from pocket presence, delivery, anticipation, vision, ball placement, finding the right guy, how you manage the offense. So his delivery, absolutely, like Mike said, is that of a baseball player. And he throws like a shortstop or a third baseman. Apparently, he was a very good baseball player and was first base, pitcher, and third baseman. And he absolutely throws like a shortstop and third baseman. And it's a very elongated throw. So when you're throwing, the way that they teach you, at least back in the day, I don't know what they do now, you're throwing from your ear and you're throwing forward. He throws from a lower position, an elongated delivery, which would be really different than A.J. Sarace's. And I, talked about A.J. Sarace's in some of the limited time that he played this year. He has a really quick anticipatory motion. Boom. He follows right through, right by the ear, and extremely accurate and nice spin on the ball. But Dylan has a long motion, but he's pretty accurate. And I'm not just talking about his completion percentage, 67, whatever it was, which we would love, by the way. I can't remember. I don't even think Mike Teal was in the low 50s. Ryan Hart, I think, was in the upper 50s. Gary Nova probably as well. Ethan, up this game this year, he was in the low 60s, so good for him. But I like his ball placement. It's a catchable ball. It's accurate. He's got a good arm. I wouldn't say it's a rocket arm, but it's a pretty good arm. But I think that plays against him because he has a lot of... Now, don't go crazy when I say this, but when he does this thing where he throws off his back foot, not because he doesn't know how to position himself, but if he's in a hurry and wants to make a throw and he throws off his back foot, which is, every quarterback's coach will tell you is a no-no. Aaron Rodgers does the same thing. He has so much faith in his arm. And you watch Aaron Rodgers a lot, and he'll throw off his back foot, moving backwards, and he'll still throw the ball on a rope. So Lonergan has a little bit of that in him, which I typically don't love to see, but it doesn't seem to affect his delivery. He does throw in with anticipation and accuracy for the most part. But his delivery, I don't want to say it's unorthodox, it's just an elongated, different type of delivery, and it reminds me of, and it's ironic because he just came back for a short 3-game stint, Phillip Rivers. And when Phillip Rivers first came out of North Carolina State, I didn't love him because it was like, damn, that's a long throwing motion. But, it was effective. It worked for him. And I think Dylan Lonergan has a very similar delivery. So I feel that he has the chops to be a Big Ten quarterback. And, you talked about a little bit about this earlier, and then the guys from the Night Report were talking about his productivity, and a lot of it was early against teams like Fordham and Michigan State. But, and I don't know, I want to say they said he had 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions down the stretch, but, there was some really, there were some big boys in there, including several ranked teams. So, getting Dylan to me is, as I spoke about earlier, is a little bit awkward. He's not a Tyrod Taylor, reliable backup, hold the place kind of guy. This is a guy who's going to compete. Yes, I know that Greg Schiano, everybody's got to compete for their positions, even the quarterback, but this can cause some awkwardness, and it can cause an awkwardness and with AJ Serace, in that AJ Serace, maybe he loses the competition. So now here's a guy you've been grooming. He's been in the pipeline for 2-3 years now. He's your quarterback for the future. You don't want to just hand him the job, but he's a dual threat quarterback who, the coaching staff likes. Schiano likes him. Kirk Ciarrocca likes him. He has the attributes, but he loses the competition. So he's kind of wasted 2 or 3 years. Does he transfer out? Does he stay around and, allow Lonergan to put in his year or 2? Then AJ kind of develops further, steps in for his last 2 years and lights it up? Or if AJ, he flat out wins the job, and Lonergan, who is a four-star guy, thinks he's a starter, but he only has 2 years of eligibility left. So what does he do? Does he sit for a year hoping that he can get playing time and beat out AJ, and then leave to finish his last year of eligibility at another place? It just doesn't seem very Greg Schiano-like. I mean, it's good that we're getting talented guys at a quarterback position that we've struggled with forever. Some say since Gary Nova. Won't get into the Gary Nova stuff. He had kind of a high floor, but he would throw lots of picks. But that's a story for another day. So this is going to be an awkward. How do you manage that? This is kind of new for us. We have depth at the quarterback position. Sean Ashenfelter, who I mentioned in my previous video, he's coming off an injury, and he had that awkward delivery, not super productive in high school, didn't have the flashy numbers, but he could run this kind of offense. And from what I've seen him play, I thought he looked much better than I expected, to be honest with you. So, and then you have Xavier Stern. So we have quarterback depth. Now, could the third or fourth guy on the roster step in and win a Big Ten game? Yeah, maybe, probably not, unless you're running the ball 40 times. But now you're going to have a competition at the top, and I'm not convinced this is something new for us. I'm not convinced that it may turn out the way that you think it may, in that Dylan, okay, he'll be our insurance, but he's not an insurance policy kind of guy. He was a Nick Saban recruit. He's thinking, I need to get to that next step to take my game and, get the bag. So, maybe he got the bag. Maybe he got a much better offer at Rutgers than Boston College. So maybe that's a reason why he came. It can't solely be about getting playing time, because he's probably not going to see a lot. And it's funny because the guys from the Night Report were talking, they were giving odds on that. And I thought it was kind of interesting. I think it was Richie felt that AJ is going to be the guy, and Alec was a little more split. Mike maybe favored AJ, but would not be shocked if, unlike competition, Greg Schiano during spring game and the spring sessions always says, it's a close competition. It's it's nip and tuck. Nobody's really taken the bull by the horns and sprinted ahead. He always says that. This might be one of those times where it's actually true. So I feel you're better off getting a 3-star guy that's maybe in a group of 5, and he wants to play in the Big Ten, wants to get the bag, maybe get some playing time, and maybe after spending some time here, he has a year of eligibility left after being here a couple years. And if he can get some starts, or maybe start if AJ Serace moves on, I think that would have been a more stable, safer way to go. Yes, we have a collection of guys with talent at the top of the quarterback position now, but I'm not sure how it's going to work out. Some people feel because Lonergan's production down the stretch with Boston College wasn't great, but as I've said, they struggle on offense. And that second half of the year, they played Louisville, who was ranked at the time, Notre Dame, SMU, ranked Georgia Tech. So those were some pretty damn good teams that he lost to. And I think our offense will give him more opportunities to play his kind of game, especially with the anticipation that he has. He's not going to be like Ethan, always looking to throw that fastball in there. He has a little more touch. He's a little more fluid in his delivery and where he wants the ball to go. He throws to a spot. He's not looking to drill that pass at you. So I feel he'll have some opportunities. And let's hope this situation works out. Boy, I mean, if we would have, what was AJ Serace? Was he a 4-star quarterback? Can you imagine us having, maybe it was a high 3-star. Anyway, having 2 highly rated quarterbacks. Perplexing decision, but Schiano and staff must have something cooking we're not aware of. So let's get back to the other guys. What Brian Fonseca calls is Rutgers shopping at the dollar store, at the bargain bin. We're getting guys from programs like Maine, who is 6-5 in the CAA, and Ball State was 4-8 in the MAC. So there's not a winning tradition of guys coming out of good programs that can take the next step, like a James Madison. But I feel that strategically it's what we kind of have to do, but it'd be nice to get guys leaving, Michigan State or, Indiana or, Iowa that want to come here. They want, a change of scenery. Hey, let's go to, I want to play on the East Coast, but that's not going to be the case. So Jaden Lee, defensive tackle from Maine out of Virginia. I hope he turns out to be a little more productive than our other Maine transfer in Sean Bowman. As a sophomore, he had 32 tackles, 11 solo, 3.5 tackles for loss. He'd likely be a rotation piece. Doug Blue, Eli, coming off injury and Farrell potentially rotating. And he has 2 years of eligibility, and a red shirt is possible. He had 435 snaps this past season. He does add good size and, as I said, a potential depth and rotational piece. So we'll say, okay, Indiana native. Ball State's in Indiana, by the way, so I guess that kind of makes sense. Cam Anthony, tight end, he stayed home. 7 catches, 117 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's a lot of production for only 7 catches. Pass catching tight end like Bowman. Will he have impact and will he be utilized? That's a whole nother story. Richard from the Night report said it could be interesting as the 5-for-5 rule, which, you get 5 years. Put in 5 years, you get 5 years of eligibility. If it's implemented by the NCAA, we'll see if these injunctions, how they do. If they do rule in the favor of the players, Kenny Fletcher will likely be back. I'd like to see that. He had his moments. And Cam, Ball State guy, and he has an Achilles injury. We'll see. I don't even know what to say about that. So we have a Villanova cornerback, a Toledo defensive lineman, a Ball State tight end with an Achilles injuries. We were looking at, and the guys from the Night report were talking a bit about defensive tackle Rondo Porter, App State. Okay, he's taking a circuitous route. He's at places I've never even heard of. Newberry, Lenoir Ryan, whatever they are. He did have a pit stop at South Carolina, SEC, and then App State, which is North Carolina. Big win against Michigan. I don't know, say 10, 12, 15 years ago. He was all Sun Belt and ranked number 78 amongst defensive linemen in 13 games, 43 tackles, 18 solo, 5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. But I love a defensive tackle that's got 4 pass breakups. You got to love that. So he's kind of active up front. Impressive for a defensive tackle. He'll have some upside, and hopefully the winding road that he had to take will bring a dog mentality with him and chip on his shoulder to step into the Big Ten and be productive. So that's a quick recap of portal stuff. We got Oregon tonight, and last time I checked, it was a pretty close game, even though our shooting was not so great. So we'll probably have a recap on that, and this is the busy season for us. It's probably going to be more portal news. We'll keep you posted, everybody. Enjoy your evening and your week, and we'll see you the next time.